Good morning, friends, and welcome to the fourth episode of Tabletop Humans, where I invite other humans in the tabletop space to chat about the work they do, whether it's game design, actual plays, charity work, what have you. We play a party game and then we have you home by 9. I'm Just the Human, and today's human guest is Phil, aka Tulok the Barbrarian on the internet, an incredible D&D and Elden Ring content creator who I hear is starting to make Magic the Gathering content now too under the name Tulok the Cardbarian. I am so incredibly excited to chat with Phil today about how he combats burnout as a content creator, what Magic the Gathering series he's most excited for this year, and so much more, not to mention his good morning proclamation and what that's going to be for the day. With that being said, Phil, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to chat with you. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you do as a human in the tabletop space as well as outside of it?
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I can't do a much better introduction than you gave me, but I'm Phil. I'm Tulok the Barbarian, Tulok the Cardbarian, Tulok and Mango, and now Tulok Time 2, which is where I do a variety of different games. As far as D&D goes, you probably, if you do know me, you know me from the Building Characters series, where I would take your favorite fictional characters and turn them into Dungeons and Dragons characters. I forgot the intro because I ended that series, which we'll probably talk about when we talk about Burnout. But I also did a little homebrew. I made a homebrew subclass for each of the main 5e classes, and then I made my own class, which is a speedster kind of thing called the Accelerationist. Which or the accelerator, not the accelerationist. That's a different. Whether or not your accelerator is an accelerationist is a role play choice. Uh, but yeah, so now I'm focusing on doing the homebrew stuff when I make some D&D stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of trying to mix it up, do a variety of different things.
I love that for you. And I think for today, what I would like to start with is how did you get into all of your different nerdy hobbies? Specifically, I want to talk about TTRPGs and Magic, but you also play video games and you're also doing so many other things. So, how did you get started with that?
I mean, I got started playing video games with probably Mario 64. Like I got a Nintendo 64. I was a Nintendo 64 kid. I did not realize until adulthood that most people had a PlayStation and not a Nintendo 64.
I was very, very lucky as a child. I had a Nintendo 64, which actually sits back here. Do you see it right there? That's my
Wow.
second one, not my original, because my original
Yep.
died, and I said I cannot go on living if I do not have this
Hmm.
console. And I also had the PlayStation 1, not the PlayStation, the mini portable one.
Oh, that's baller.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's baller.
And then I never had another PlayStation system again.
Nice. I think like full gamer moments though. Like PlayStation 2 is when like the full gamerhood took over. Cuz I liked Ocarina of Time. Like that was like one of the first games that I was like, "Whoa." Like games are pretty cool. Like Mario was fine. I liked Mario. I still love Mario, but like Ocarina of Time was like transcendent gaming experience. And then Kingdom Hearts came out, which we got up here. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. Oh, I'm still waiting for 4. It'll happen one day.
I have a bad gamer moment where I've played maybe 5 minutes, well maybe an hour total of Zelda games, and I've never played a Kingdom of Hearts game.
Okay, Kingdom of Hearts?
King, don't come for me like
It's
this.
the Kingdom of Hearts.
Yep, it's fine. It's fine. We're just gonna move right along. Back to you
I
and
mean,
your
look,
story.
I'll be a boomer and I'll say that Ocarina of Time is the prime Zelda. That is the one to play if you are to play one. This Breath of the Wild crap, get it out of here. Breath of the Wild, whatever. It's not for me.
You know, Breath of the Wild, when I tore my ACL in 2019, one of my friends brought over Breath of the Wild for me to play on Switch. and there was a puzzle at the very beginning, and maybe it's because I was recovering from my surgery and I was like crashed out on opiates at the time, but I could not figure out how to get past the puzzle, and I said, this game is not for me.
Okay, wait. So I like part of being a content creator is that you can't upload like I played Breath of the Wild and that's the video. Like you can't do that anymore. It has to be a challenge. So I played Breath of the Wild while crashed out on opioids. I think that's gonna get some clicks.
Yeah, but that would also
Can
require
I
me to
be?
become injured again and then be crashed out on
Oh no,
opiates.
this is an idea for me.
Oh,
I'm here to steal ideas from you.
take it. But actually,
We're
please don't injure yourself.
we're gonna do that. Yeah. I'm gonna slip and fall on the ices of Lake Minnetonka, and then I'll get an opioid, and then we'll be good.
Just one singular opioid.
Just one. I have a very low tolerance. I'm a small boy. You might think that I'm like 6'3" and like 240 pounds. Nope, I am 2 feet tall.
Incredible.
Um, and I blow over in a stiff breeze.
Okay, I'm gonna yoink us back to
Sure.
your video game journey
Yes.
to get us a little bit more on the track.
Yes. So, I mean, Kingdom of Hearts and Mass Effect, I think were two very very big games for me. I am because of Tulok Time, which is my variety channel where I play whatever I want. I am now getting to play those games again, and they are delightful. And I am also figuring out that basically set the framework for how I run every D&D campaign I ever do is Kingdom Hearts or Mass Effect, because Kingdom Hearts and Mass Effect have the same structure story wise, and it's perfect for a tabletop RPG campaign.
I've got more bad news. I tried 1 hour of Mass Effect and I was like, I can't do this. I don't think there was a puzzle. I have a lot of trouble following a map on the screen, and I don't know if I couldn't follow the map or if I just couldn't follow like I'm also terrible at shooting guns. And
Sure,
sometimes I'm just a really bad video game player, and that's
sure.
okay.
That is okay. I mean, okay, so I'm thinking of the games I've seen you play, and in my mind, there's two types of games, right? There's Zelda and there's Tetris, and every game is one of those two. In that, you're playing the game to do an adventure that happens one way, and you go through it, and the adventure is exciting, and you win. And then there's Tetris, which is we just made a gameplay loop that's so goddamn fun that you can just do it over and over again. So
I'm the
I've seen you play
Tetris
like,
person. Yep.
yes, Mario Kart, Dead by Daylight. These are Tetrises. And the games I'm pitching to you, they're Zeldas. Sometimes literally Zelda.
I will say, okay, I have played a ton of Pokemon games, not just Pokemon Go, that is the Tetris type. I'm thinking of Pokemon Snap. I'm thinking of Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, Gold, Silver, all of those, which are, I would consider, a Zelda type because there has been a Pokemon puzzle that has put me to tears because I could not figure it out.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
I was not a child. And that's
Okay.
that's just where we're going to end that.
That's where we'll end that. We don't have to figure out which one that was. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um Also, I don't know. Pokemon's just built different. It's just a different thing, you
So you
know?
would say that that's a secret third category.
I mean, so if we want to get into my video game philosophy, it's that like sometimes games confuse whether they're a Tetris or a Zelda, and I think it's become a problem for game design.
Ooh.
And that's why we've got some games that kind of like flop because they think like, how do we make it like Tetris? Because Fortnite is also a Tetris, and so everybody wants to make a Fortnite now, but also I mean, right now we've got two games that everyone's trying to make. They're trying to make Fortnite or they're trying to make Elden Ring. And Elden Ring is a Zelda and Fortnite is a Tetris. But the problem is they're trying to mix these, and you get Destiny. stuff, Destiny clones. And Destiny, like some people like Destiny,
I have
but
played
go ahead.
more than 1 hour of Destiny.
Okay, 2 hours? Did you make
I
it to 2 hours of Destiny?
I've probably played a full day, like a full
Okay,
24 hours, if not more. I
sure.
loved collecting the little sugar cubes. I don't know what they're called, but that is what I called them. And I just like exploring. I like in Skyrim going from one destination to the other without fast traveling because I think that's
Sure.
more fun, and I could do that in Destiny.
Okay, well, so what you're doing right now is you're kind of like there's some holes in my there are two games theory, and you're kind of poking at those holes.
That's
So let's
because it's
move on so
actually
that I still
Swiss
seem like
cheese.
yeah, that no, let's move on so that I still seem like a smart and cool and informed guest.
Incredible. Okay, so then tell me when you started getting into tabletop games,
Yes.
specifically TTRPGs and Magic.
Yes. So TTRPGs I got into for the best reason, which is spite. Because a group of my friends, a lot of them lived in like one house, but there was one person at the house who didn't like me at the time. And he said, I don't want him coming over to the house anymore. This was big spite. Um, because I happen to be a bit of a troll when I notice that I'm pressing some buttons of someone and I think it's unreasonable that their buttons were pressed. I would like to press more of those buttons. Some might call it being a little bit of a dick. So I pressed some buttons. I got banned from the house, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm banned from the house, I'm gonna start a really fun activity that everyone who lives in that house is invited to, except for the guy who doesn't like me. And you know what a really fun activity is? Dungeons and Dragons. I had never played Dungeons and Dragons or anything before, but I had listened to a few episodes of The Adventure Zone, which means that I was prepared to DM. That's all you need. And I guess what I'll tell you is if you are nervous about DMing, that the first campaign you DM is just garbage. It's just garbage to get yourself ready, to get comfortable with the idea of doing it. And you just have to do it. It's the first pancake. You know the first pancake you make always comes out weird.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta make the first pancake though. So this is the first pancake, and it was sloppy and it was bad. And I thought don't split the party was such a hard rule that I created the just one guy killer, who was a serial killer who ran around the world and killed you if you were just one guy. And he would whistle so you knew he was coming. So anytime anybody was like, "I'm gonna split off the party," and now if I hear, if I as I'm talking about that, I'm like shuddering on the inside because I'm like, you know, what my favorite thing is as a DM when they split the party. I actually adore when they split the party. It's so fun. It's so fun.
Did you start whistling at your players
Yeah,
anytime they would start thinking
yeah.
about
I'd be like,
it?
yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay. Okay,
It
so
was terrible.
I
Awful.
mean,
No.
it was the first pancake of a stack of pancakes that probably tasted really good.
Yes, this one was charcoal, but somehow undercooked in the middle. It was like just blackened ash on the outside and raw dough in the middle.
You gotta start somewhere. That's
You
fine. Okay.
gotta start somewhere.
So, on the flip side, how did you get into magic?
Well, my wonderful girlfriend was like, we should do something together. We should get a hobby that we do together. And she had played a bunch of Magic, Commander, Modern, Standard. Did you ever play Standard? No, not Standard.
Yeah, because
She's
standard
not a nerd.
sucks.
But she played Modern and she had played Commander and she had been out of it for a few years. But one time we were just like walking around and she saw a pack of Commander Masters was for sale, I think, at some place and was like, oh, I kind of want to see if I can get something good. Come on, there's some good cards in there. Then I was like, okay, whatever, you know. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Now I'm like, yeah, there are some good cards in there, but also there's those packs are very overpriced. for what they are, Commander Masters. It's fine. There's some good stuff in there too.
I love how
Uh,
you looked over your shoulder as you said that
yeah,
because she
no,
can
I had
hear
to make
you.
sure. Yeah, I had to make sure. She was waiting in the doorway. She's going now, but I had to make sure that I was correct. Well, because like I always joke that I'm just a dumb boy and I can't really understand magic. Like my girlfriend tries to explain it to me, but like as a boy, it just doesn't really like click with my brain in an important way. So no, so she got me into it, and I, being a woman playing Magic, like dealt with a lot of like local dudes who were like, "Oh, you don't know anything about Magic."
She also
So
probably heard a lot of cat calls
yeah.
when she was playing.
Speaking of cat calls, my cat is calling. Quinn, come on.
Come on, Quinn.
Nope, she just wants to stand by the door and scream.
Yeah.
Um, it happens. But so that kind of was like her villain origin story. So she plays like really intense aggressive decks with intense aggressive cards like Kalia. Oh gosh, what are some other Corvold? Like these big bad mofos that when you sit down at the commander table and you throw down your commander and you're like, I'm playing Kalia, everyone's like, oh god. Um and like took it to the gatekeepers. I'm not a gatekeeper though, but that's sort of just burned into how she plays. And so I've joked that now she is kind of like Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh. And I'm not Yugi. I don't have delusions that I'm Yugi. I'm like I'm the bug guy, because I like to make my silly little lads that I'm like, oh, 4 people have thought to build this one before. Let's see what I can do with it.
That is very funny to me because that's me and Brandon flipped. We
Mm-hmm.
started playing at PAX U last year, and I was like, let's make some funny decks. My first deck was called I Can Be Your Angel or Your Devil, and it's just angels, devils, shapeshifters. People who can be either or. My second
Mm-hmm.
was more goblins than wizards per capita, and it's just wizards and goblins. I'm just making these funny little decks. And then on the flip side, he's like, I have one deck, and I want it to be the best deck that I can make that. And I'm like, okay. He is finally, yesterday, literally last night, because his birthday gift came in, which was the
Happy birthday.
ooze. Happy birthday to him. It was the ooze, the prime slime secret lair. And so now he's making an ooze deck. And so again, that is going to be the most powerful thing that it can be. And then I have how to train your cats and dragons on the things to come. I want to make orcs and dorks, and it's just orcs and wizards and just like funny little things. And he's like, I want to murder. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So very, very much the same but opposite for us.
I like that though. I like going against it's the Elden Ring, it's the Dark Souls gamer of me that like wants to be the small little man against, the giant dragon demon monster. Um and I think it weirdly works out in my favor in like pub games because of my commander philosophy is you should try to be Jawg, which is JAWG, just a widow guy, or just a widow gal, or John, just a widow NB, but then you are also from Philadelphia. And you have to make peace with being John, a John from, you hand me that John over there if you're from Philly. And because like my commanders, people are like, what the fuck is that? I'm sorry, you've got an uncommon from the third most popular Doctor Who deck that you pulled out and were like, this is my commander. I'm taking away 2 of the other colors. We're going mono red, which by the way was a deck I got from you. You gave me that Doctor Who deck from a charity thing.
Oh,
I
hell
won it
yeah.
there and I had to build a commander for it. It's my baby. It's Araxa, Empress of Mars, and I love her. It's my favorite deck. I play it all the time and it wins. It wins more than it should. And that's what I love is but I think a lot of the times it gets to win because everyone else is like, oh, I am playing oh, who's the ninja? The one ninja that's really good. You know, the Demir Ninja lady. I'm forgetting her name. I'm not trying to get you with a D's nuts. I actually forgot her name. Uh,
We'll think of it later and I'll edit it
yes,
in post.
thank you. Um, or you're playing Kali or you're playing Corvold. And I'm scared of those decks because I've seen what they do and I know what they do and I'm scared and I know I can't let you cook. My stuff, they're like, well, let him cook. What's he gonna do? And it turns out you can do a lot.
And then you make a stack of pancakes that's really fucking good.
Yes, exactly.
Incredible. Okay. One question before I ask you about when you started making tabletop content.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you just really like the funny little guys. And it sounds like you don't like the super powerful guys. But what I would like to know is what magic drop you're most excited for that's coming in 2025.
I was nervous about the Final Fantasy Universes Beyond because I was worried it would be Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 14 and everyone else gets table scraps. Cause like I don't know if you've noticed. I'm a big Square Enix guy. Hey, Keyblades up there. Um, but it kind of seems like when Square is thinking about Final Fantasy, they're like, well, we made 7 and we made 14. And I don't know what the other numbers are in between, but those are the two that we did. So I was really worried. And I know Final Fantasy X is also probably top 4 most popular. I would guess it's probably 7, 14, maybe 6, and then 10. But I maybe 10 might be ahead of 6. 10 might be third. But I'm just so happy that 10 is getting representation and that my boy Titus, my little dumb Encino Man rugby player himbo, is going to be the face of a commander deck. I'm so happy for him. I was so scared. I also love Universes Beyond. I started playing too late to hate it. And you know what? I think a lot of people love Universes Beyond because the Final Fantasy sets are already sold out. Like everyone's like, we need to stop the Universes Beyond. It's ruining. It's sold out. It's sold out. It's 4 months away and it's sold out.
That is bonkers. Wow.
I mean, I'm sure people are going to increase their order and they're going to increase the prints, but we're recording this in March, and from what I can gather, it is sold out.
Damn.
But
Okay.
I'm stoked for it.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
stoked for it. I want to see Kamari Ronso. I love Final Fantasy X. That's another very special game for me, and it's a game that makes me cry every time. And so currently, I'm doing a run for it. Maybe the video will be out by the time this podcast goes up. It's a long game, and we just started. But I joke that the real challenge of the video is just can Phil beat Final Fantasy X without crying? And I don't think it's going to be possible.
Maybe
Is it
there should be a cry counter for it.
cry counter? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Add a cry counter and proliferate.
Hell yeah. Okay, well that brings me into my next question that I already briefed a little bit. When did you decide to start making content in the tabletop space and like what was the decision behind that?
I'm gonna try and shorten this story. I went to a school that wasn't real. The government shut it down for fraud. It's the art institutes. You can look up videos. I think Kat Graffam has a great video about the art institutes being shut down. I suggest you check that out if you want the full history. But basically, it was a full for-profit school, and they lied about their Quinn. Come on, whatever. She's gonna do her thing.
We're going to have a
Basically,
cat
it was a
counter.
four cat counter. Basically, it was a for-profit university, and they lied about their job placement. So when I toured, they said they had a 95% job placement rate in their field. So you go for digital film and video production, which is what I did because in high school I was already in like the AV club and taking a bunch of AV classes. I took so many AV classes in high school that they made more for me. Like the teachers like talked to the school board and like talked to the state. They're like, look, we just kind of want him there and he'll help us with the other. So I like became a TA for the AV clubs for the AV classes when I was in high school because I took so many. So I already knew how to edit. I already knew how to shoot. And I was like, okay, I can further my education. 95% job placement rate. The problem is, and this is where the fraud comes in, they were lying. And some examples of what a 95% job placement rate would be. A friend of mine from school was in the photography program, and then she started working at the Apple store when she graduated, and they counted that job placed in her field because iPhones have cameras. So when they say 95% job placement, they considered me placed because there was a company that sets up projector equipment and like speakers for presentations at hotels. Nothing I trained to do, by the way. Nothing you need a degree to do. It's literally just plug it in. It was a freelance thing. So they'd send out an email blast to everyone who had ever worked with them and be like, hey, we got a gig. It's 6 hours. It's in this town. First 4 people who reply to this get the job for the 6 hours. And that was how I could get hours there. So I ended up working about 12 hours a month at this place. And then I get a call from the school and they're like, hey, do you work for so-and-so video equipment? And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't work for them. Like, it's like a kind of a gig thing. But did you work as a something special? You know, like at a hospital, an environmental specialist. I thought that was someone who like studied the environment. No, it's someone who cleans the sheets. Like that's what an environmental specialist at a hospital is. So it's that thing where you just dress up the name and it sounds like a thing. And they're like, "Do you do this for this company?" And I'm like, "I think no. Like, I mean, I've only worked like 12 hours." And like, "But did you have a gig?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I did." And then they hung up.
That is so shady.
Yeah. So then I started driving for Uber, and then I got a desk job because I picked up a lady who worked at a temp agency, and she was like hammered drunk on a Saturday night. Totally allowed for her to do that, by the way. She called an Uber. She wasn't driving, but I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, "I'm so stressed out. I needed to like I needed to let loose." And I'm like, "Why are you so stressed out?" She's like, "There are too many jobs." And I'm like, "No, there aren't. I'm driving for Uber." I couldn't get a job at Best Buy. I couldn't get a job doing what I did in high school. I was a production assistant at an NBC affiliate in my hometown, and then I applied for the same job in Minneapolis, which is where I lived at the time. Couldn't get it, and I had a 4-year degree now, so it was bad. It was bad shit. But I got placed in a call center, and so then I was working in a call center, and working in a call center is really really easy, and I had a lot of downtime. So I would scroll through Reddit and I would look at the D&D Reddit because this is about when I started getting into Dungeons and Dragons. Come
Quinn
on,
has
come
a
all the way
lot
over.
to add in.
No, no running. She likes to try and like run under the couch
She's a
when I'm
perfect
trying to.
baby and she does nothing wrong.
She does a lot wrong.
Mm.
My job is to talk into a microphone in a small room, and she's in the room. Hi, you dummy. Okay. Uh, so I would scroll through the D&D Reddit, and one of the posts I saw was like, "How would you make Wolverine as a character?" And it was a very popular post. I think 5 upvotes, 2 comments. This was a viral post. It went viral. I definitely wasn't so desperate for shit to do at work that I started sorting by new. Which, by the way, if you're ever on Reddit and you start sorting by new, it's time to fight. It's time to go outside, walk around, touch some grass. Bad news happens when you sort by new. But I was like, hey, I know how to edit stuff. I know how to make videos. I could make a short little video about that, like theory crafting, how to use the abilities of the different classes to put together a character. And so like Black Panther was about to come out in February. I got my tax return. I bought a computer, and I didn't do anything for 8 months. um and then Black Panther was not topical anymore. So there's like 3 different first scripts if you for building character as a series, if you're building character fans. If you're not, that's fine. The show is dead. We'll talk about that in a second, I'm sure. uh but if you are, there are 3. So Black Panther was the first one because that was what sparked the idea. I was like, that's the thing that's coming out, I should do that. Then there's Donald Duck because that's the first script I actually wrote. If you are a building character fan, you know that was episode like 400 and something. We didn't get to it quick. And then the first episode was Captain America. because Avengers Infinity War? No. Endgame? Was Endgame coming out? Yes, yeah, because Infinity War came out after Black Panther, and then Endgame came out after Captain Marvel. Yes, I'm right. You're wrong. Shut up. I'm talking to the people who are correcting me, not you. You weren't saying anything. Uh, thank you for letting me rant here. But so I did Captain America, and I was like, okay, I'll do one of these, one Avenger per month, and then I'll do whatever other characters I want to do. Kingdom Hearts 3 was also on the horizon, so I also did a Kingdom Hearts character, which is suspiciously how I got into anime, because I was never into anime. But I don't know if you know this, the overlap of like Kingdom Hearts fans, anime fans, if you make that Venn diagram, it's like a circle. And then I'm just like this little sliver at the top that only played Kingdom Hearts. So I would like take the videos and I'd post them in the different Reddits, and I'd say, "Hey, D&D Reddit, here's this." And the D&D Reddit was like, "You can't self promote here." I was like, "What?" It's D&D stuff, like, why wouldn't you want D&D like, it's a video, it's about D&D. And they're like, "Okay, you can post once a week." But it could only be once a week, full week. So if I posted it at Tuesday at 11 a.m. and then the next week I posted it at Tuesday at 10:30 a.m., they were like, "No, it's twice in the same week."
That is wild.
I don't like the D&D Reddit. I don't think it's very good. And I don't think it's a good place to get started as a content creator. The Kingdom Hearts Reddit, however, very hungry for content with the Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out. And whenever I would post over there, I'd get 5 to 10 people who were like, "Yeah, neat." These weren't huge posts on the Kingdom Hearts Reddit, and the Kingdom Hearts videos have never done very well. But I think that's where I started to get like ride or dies, which are so important as a content creator. You got to get the ride or dies first, and then they'll stick around for everything. Like a lot of my mods are people who just came over from the Kingdom Hearts Reddit and were there on the second video because the second video was Kingdom Hearts.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to Kingdom Hearts. Shout out to Sora. Can we get some claps in the chat for Sora? So that's kind of how I got started.
Okay, hell yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about how you keep things fresh and exciting for yourself while also staying true to your audience? I know that's a very fine line of what brings me, the content creator, joy versus what folks actually want to watch.
I'll be very real with you, Jess. This is like my number one struggle in the content creating thing because I am tremendously lucky and this is my full time job. That's awesome. And that is very, very lucky. And it's very important that I remind myself how lucky I am. However, I think this isn't like an audience thing, it's more of a YouTube thing. YouTube wants you to be a box that does one thing. And if you try to do another thing, YouTube will not share it. The algorithm is a fickle, unintelligible mistress that nobody really understands. But what I seem to gather is it registers you as a creator, not as Tulok or Phil. It says you are the D&D man, and you make specifically this D&D show, and your thumbnails specifically look like this. And if you do anything that doesn't look like this thumbnail and look like this, I mean, you'll probably notice like a lot of creators you watch, their thumbnails all look the same. And it's because that's what YouTube will push. YouTube won't push it if you change it. So as far as burnout goes, like I was burning out on building character for a year, 2 years. I mean, there are definitely episodes I enjoyed more than others, but I think I figured out like post Thanos. The Thanos video was very fun. That was episode 300, I think, or 200. But I got to work with Joe Cat, who is lovely, by the way. If anyone's curious of whether or not Joe Cat is a wonderful person or not, Joe Cat's like one of the nicest people I've ever worked with. Just the best. But like after that episode, I don't know. It just kind of, there wasn't any joy in it. It was sort of just the desk job. And that's the danger of commodifying your hobbies, is that you think, well, now my work will be fun because my work is what I do for fun. But what it ends up kind of doing is what you do for fun becomes work, and it can only feel like work. And you stop playing D&D so much because you need to talk about D&D. You don't have the free time. That's another thing about when you go full-time content creator, your hours don't get better. You do get to choose when your hours are, but you have to choose about 20 more of them every week. Because like you're the only person, you know? Something I miss about the desk job is like if they were like, oh, there's this campaign, we've got to close it at the call center. I could be like, oh, well, I kind of want to take a day off to play Kingdom Hearts, so I'm going to call in sick. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. Bye. And then I come back and magically someone else did it. Something else happened. You know, someone else was there. We're a content creator, and that's your full-time gig. Like, you're the only thing that makes the content happen. So if I take a day off, it goes away. And that's really the struggle with the burnout. Like, that's the number one thing I work on with my therapist is how do I manage to keep it interesting for me and also continue to live.
Absolutely. And I bet another thing that you might talk with your therapist about is fielding parasocial relationships and keeping things like light and breezy with your fans while also protecting yourself as a human and content creator. I'm seeing a head shake no.
Because I disagree, and maybe this is my Achilles heel as a content creator, but I have always thought that content creators are a little too squeaky clean, a little too nice with their fans, and they let them get away with a lot. I have the benefit of being a big, tall man,
I thought
and
you were a
so
2 foot tall little funny guy.
I
Have you
can
been
change.
lying to me?
I can Ant-Man, so I do both.
Very cool.
I do both.
Hell yeah.
But like this is something huge to acknowledge, is that like when I get into fights with my comments, it is not anywhere near what like women and queer people deal with, and people of color as well. Like I am so blessed to be a white cishet dude, uh, probably one of the only ones who will ever be on this podcast, so you're welcome. Diversity, I'm here to represent. uh it is so much worse, and I've like just seen like in communities like where I'll like hang out in the chat, or like go to the comments of like a woman who made a video, or like a black person who made a video, or like a queer person who made a video, sometimes the trifecta, and like, oh my god, it's so much worse. um but even so, like part of my privilege of being a straight cishet man is that I think it's my duty to call it out when people cross that parasocial boundary, because I think, well, one, I just have the benefit of like I look like what gamers want their gamer content creator to look like. Subconsciously, consciously, if they are bigots, if they're subconsciously bigoted or prejudiced, they see me and they're like, that's what I expect him to look like. That's what I want him to look like. So I get more views. It sucks. It's really unfair. But I think that part of my privilege of being that is that I need to be louder about being like, hey, what you're doing sucks and it makes me uncomfortable. Or it would make someone else uncomfortable, and y'all don't understand boundaries.
You know, I appreciate that because as a person who doesn't often tell people when they're crossing that parasocial relationship into the borderline, like, God, you need to stop, I don't do it very often because when I do it, I'm a bitch.
Right.
Whereas when you do it, you're just sticking up for yourself.
Yeah. And I'm a hero. That's the other important thing to remember. The
Mm-hmm.
bar is so low, by the way. The bar is on the floor.
It's actually like right underneath my foot.
It's ridiculous. Like I see people posting like, "Oh, you can't even like play Magic the Gathering in a public space anymore if you're not LGBTQ or then Wizards of the Coast doesn't care about white guys anymore." I'm like, I don't, guys. Literally, if you're just like a cishet white guy, and you're just like nice and remember people's pronouns and like are just respectful. Like I'm not handing out money to like my queer audience members to be like, here, please like me. I'm just like, oh, what are your pronouns? Okay, cool. Bet.
You know, it's really sucky as a queer person and as a non binary person when people use my pronouns and in the past they haven't. I'm like, I don't want to reward them for doing the bare minimum, but God, it feels so good to like have that, like that little crumb, just that
Yeah.
little teeny tiny crumb. So I definitely can hear what you're saying.
Well, I get praised as a hero for it. Like, and if I ever do goof up, everyone is so charitable and they're like, well, he didn't mean it. He's a hero and we can help him get there. I always try not to fuck up as much as possible. I've fucked up before. Uh, but I know like women in the space and like queer people in the space who will like maybe say something like a little bit off once and then like get dog piled. And like it's weird that like that cishet white privilege extends even in like that space, is that like I am given a charitable read because most of the time I try my hardest to be polite and respectful, and sometimes I might say something that's a little fucked up, but like everyone reads it charitably and I'm like, oh, but if I if I wasn't a cishet white guy, I'd get dogpiled.
Hmm. It's very interesting in the space who gets put on a pedestal and who will white knight for the people on the pedestals. But that
Yeah.
is a conversation that we can get into on another day because I
Yes.
have a few other things that I want to ask you.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
one of those things is if you had a piece of advice that you could give to someone who is first starting out on their content creator journey, what would
Mhm.
that be?
Okay, so two things. The first one, pretty quick, pretty obvious. I know none of my answers have been quick, uh, but that's because I have ADHD and have to answer 5 questions at once. So let me answer the question. I think the number one thing is make sure you're having fun with it when it's free. Make sure you're having fun with it when it's not making money, because if you are getting burnt out making the content before it pays your rent, it doesn't get more fun when you need to do the content to pay rent. Uh, so if you're like, oh, I've got to get this video out if I want to grow my channel so that I can make money off of it. Well, hold on. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's fine. Take your time and make sure you love it. Number two is just the ride or dies. Your goal when you're starting off should not be like, I need to appeal to everyone. I think one of the reasons that I've been successful is because I make jokes for 4 people. Like I will narrow in my joke to hit one person from like my lived experience and something I know specifically about this one thing. And then people will be like, oh, I'm going to be a fan of his forever because he really nailed that specific place and thing. So like focus on, get niche. Start off niche because your niche is a lot bigger than you think it is, I guess is what I would say. Like remember I started off because I saw a Reddit post that got like 5 upvotes and like 2 comments and I was like, but I think more people are curious about this. And I was right.
Hell yeah, you were. My next question is what's exciting you in tabletop right now? Whether it's board games, whether it's D&D or TTRPGs or Magic.
I mean, okay, I'm not sucking up to you, but like you're like single-handedly kept me interested in TTRPGs. It's you and the Roll D5 crew are like the people who are like, Phil, you should come play with us because I haven't played D&D for fun, and like my brain is poisoned and can't do anything if it's not work. But when you invite me to do a charity stream, or when Roldy5 invites me on to do a charity stream, my brain is like, oh, it's work. You're allowed to do that. And like, it's just so fun to play and not thinking about it as much because I'm doing like one homebrew video a month. Like, I've actually thought about, I kind of want to make another video. I kind of want to talk about this more. I kind of want to play more again.
I
And
love that.
that's great.
Oh.
I'm excited for that.
Okay, well, color me blushing. I guess I'm going to have to invite you to some more TTRPG charity streams this year, as if I wasn't already. I definitely was, but I can make it happen.
Okay.
And Phil, with that being said, I'm a little sad because we only have 2 questions left before we move on
Oh,
to our game. But I think that you might have some interesting perspective on this one. This is one of my favorite questions to ask, and it's because you and I are both humans right now, right?
yes.
Okay, except for Quinn. She's not. I don't know if she's still in your lap or not. She is. Perfect. So, I think that humans get a pretty bad rep in D&D for being boring because you have a slew of other species that you can play that are fucking cool. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
tieflings with their horns and their wings and their tails, and they're just fucking hotness.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell me about a time you played a human character? Doesn't matter if it was in D&D or some other TTRPG, but can you just tell me what made it special about you, the human, playing a human character in a TTRPG?
I love humans and TTRPGs because you are, like you said, you are human. Um, my first character I ever played, Tulok the Barbrarian, was a human. Human barbarian. I wanted to do like a Hulk or a Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing. So I did a Frost barbarian because I also didn't know how D&D worked at the time and didn't realize that that's terrible. I mean, we can talk about power creep. I think it's fun to play a character who's good at things. But I I joined the party late, and when you join the party late, the things that are left over are always strength and intelligence. If you are just looking to fill a role, I have found every time I join a group late, we got plenty of people doing deck stuff. Everyone wants to do charisma. I'll be the face of the party, please. Everyone, there's someone who's a stoner who wants to be a druid, or there's someone who has enough guilt in their heart that they need to be a cleric. So wisdom is covered. The things that are always missing are strength and
You know,
intelligence,
it's really
which
funny that you say that because strength and intelligence are my two dump stats anytime I play in that order. And you might be like, what do you mean, just strength? You're a strong person. Why don't you want to play strong characters? I don't. I don't. I don't
uh,
unless I do, but that's like 1% of the time.
you're strong in real life. Why? That's not part of your power fantasy. That's your IRL. It's being able to throw someone through a goddamn wall.
I don't know about all that. Okay, let's get back to Tulok the Barbarian,
Tulok the Barbarian.
which
I
can I side notice for just a teeny tiny
Yeah,
second because I too have the ADHDs. Um, I assume that's why you have chosen that as your scream name then.
it is. It
Amazing.
was it was my first D&D character, and I also thought that librarian barbarian would be a fun persona to put, like someone who's like creating these characters. Like there was a while where I was like, ooh, I should do like lore where like my character like has a library with like all of these books about all of these champions, and like I pull it off and I'm like, ooh, this is the Shield Man, Captain America. And
That's
then like
kind of really fun.
it would also be like so much more work, and I did not have time to do it because I tried to do 2 of these a week.
I felt. Okay.
Which all hey, also ADHD, back to advice. Never post more than once a week. Post once a week. If you have extra time, make that video you post that week better. Take the time to like make the graphics better, take the time to make the lighting better. You can wheedle away at any piece of video in Premiere Pro. If you shot it like on a freaking like disposable camcorder, you can spend enough time with it in Premiere Pro and make it look like Avatar.
Can I,
So,
and I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
If you're like, I actually like the video where it's at, but I do still have more time, save the next one for the following week. And then when you're like, ooh, I haven't
Yes.
even more time, save the next one for that following week. And just
Yes.
keep, when you have a backlog of content, ooh, that is
Oh,
so sexy.
it's so good.
Whew!
It's the best thing in the world. I'm getting a little heated. I'm getting a little hot
Oh, shit.
just thinking
Yeah.
about it.
It's so
Yeah.
nice. But okay,
And
all
if you're
right.
dating a content creator, whisper in their ear like, "Hey, you've already got 3 videos
Incredible.
done."
Okay, all right. My hands are on the wheel and whoop, we're back on.
We're back on. I didn't want to do an Eldritch Knight for my strength intelligence because that's what everyone does for their strength intelligence. So I was like, I am going to multi-class a barbarian and a wizard, and I did it wrong. I wasn't smart. Now I'm smart, and I have made a barbarian wizard that's fantastic, and it was one of my favorite characters I've ever played. But I don't. Do we want to get into that now?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, we'll do it really quick. We reskinned a stout halfling into a pug. His name was Mutsley Bonesington, and he was a necromancer wolf totem barbarian who worked at a cemetery because he got frankenweenied by his owner, and then his owner died, and he just kept hanging out at the cemetery and became the groundskeeper's dog. And then the groundskeeper died, and then he became the groundskeeper because he got awakened. He got hit with the awakened spell, so he has the intelligence. And then so his thing is, in order to keep up the grounds, he offers families contracts and says, "Hey, if you can't afford to pay for this, can I rent your deceased loved one's bones?" If they were the primary breadwinner and you're worried about that, I go on adventures with these bones, and then you get your cut. That's his thing. And then every night he, because he was high enough into necromancer, could cast the mold earth cantrip to move 5 feet of ground, moves it out of his previous owner's thing. Then, if he's got the spell slot for it, speak with dead to talk to his previous owners, ask them 3 questions a night. Yeah,
Your Honor,
yeah,
I love him.
yeah.
Oh my
He was pretty
god.
great.
Wow. Okay.
Combat wise, though, here's the synergy. Wolf Totem Barbarian gives creatures within 5 feet of you advantage on their attack rolls. So if you have a bunch of skeletons and you can form a circle of skeletons around your boy, you run in, and 6 skeletons all now have advantage on their attack rolls, which they did because I was playing with Know Your Role. Um, Shout outs, Know Your Role. Um, Gold J, and they decided to say, and before we go into the final boss fight, everybody, we're gonna have like 3 days. You know, it's like 3 days until this heist is planned. And I'm like, as a necromancer, cool. Because as a necromancer, like for those who don't know, animate dead is something you can do. Like you can keep doing it on the same skeletons, and every time you recast it on a skeleton that's already been awakened, it's like half off. You get to do it to 2 skeletons. So the longer you have to prep. So I end up having 8 skeletons and then just roll in with a wall. It was great. It was delightful. And also, it's not concentration, so you can use it while you're raging. That's the other part of the synergy. Sorry.
Incredible. Okay. All right, my friends. Are you ready for your last question?
Yes.
Okay. Tabletop implies the existence of table bottom, and I would love to hear where you weigh in on this philosophical debate. Less of a question, more of a statement, I guess.
The table bottom is the DM.
Why?
The tabletop is the players. The table bottom is the one who needs the attention, who is looking for all the DM wants at the end of the session is a text that says you did a great job. That's all they want. They just want to know that everyone else at the table was satisfied with what happened, with everything they prepared. Also, way more preparation as the DM. You've got to spend a few hours getting ready before the session, whereas the tabletop players, they just have to
They just
show
show
up.
up.
They have to show up and be ready to have a good time. Um, you will be punished more. Players think that they're the ones who are punished by the DM. False. False. Do you know how many times I have rolled a 2 on my big bad evil guy's initiative roll, and then they just get fucking dumpstered by the party, and then I'm like, I can lie and say they have more hit points, or this was the final encounter. Congrats. I always lie. Um, yeah, table bottom is the DM, tabletop is the party.
Incredible. I love that. And this is one of my favorite questions to ask folks because everyone has their own unique perspective on it. But with that being said, my friend, we are officially done with the interview portion. And now we're going to move into playing a game.
Oh.
Okay, my friend, I see that we have picked up Quinn to play our game. Is
She's not playing the game.
She's not playing the game. Is she ready to support you in playing the game, though?
Yes, because
Okay.
she was neutered, which I think means she's probably or spayed.
Yeah,
She
she
was
was
spayed.
definitely spayed.
I don't think she's gonna enjoy this game. I don't
Okay.
think this is for her.
All right. Well, you know what? Actually, there might be one person on here who she enjoys because we're playing Smash or Pass, but because it's on my channel, we're playing Tap or Pass with commanders and planeswalkers from Magic the Gathering. So, Phil, you have a sheet in front of you with these folks. So let's just click on number one, Aurelia the War Leader.
So Aurelia is difficult to tap because she has vigilance. But the thing is, if you can find a way to tap her, whenever she attacks, she untaps all creatures you control. And after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So you're going multiple rounds with Aurelia. That's a tap.
I
That's a
love
tap
how
for
literally you're going to take this. Incredible.
sure. Of course. Well, I'm sorry. Did you want me to just be like pretty? No. Like,
I'm sorry, Aurelia is not just pretty. Like, Aurelia is everything.
yeah. No, she's yeah, it's a very like destroy me, just fuck my whole life up kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You
that I
don't
can
tap
respect.
Aurelia. Aurelia taps you.
Yes, correct. I correct.
Okay, incredible. Let's move on to our next. We've got Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
Okay. So I don't think we're assuming that all of these people are coming up to me at the magic bar and saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Right?
Or, I saw you from across the bar and I
And dig
really
your
like
vibe.
your vibe.
Right. So they are approaching me because I think Chandra is a lesbian. So I just wanted to get that out of the way that I am not denying that if she's like, "Hey, we want to exile the top card of your library." She's looking for a top card is what we're seeing from this. She is also an arsonist. Um which you can't deny that's hot. Arson, one of the sexier crimes.
Incredible. Yeah, she's definitely not looking for a table bottom. She's looking for a
Yes.
tabletop.
I'll still say tap,
Okay.
but
All right, good to know.
yes.
All right, we are going to move on to the last Blood Chief.
Oh, Drana. Yeah, Drana. That's a tap. That's a tap. Okay, let's see what we can infer. Cleric. Okay, so we've got that religious kind of post-religious freedom exploration kind of thing going on, probably. Okay, bringing something back from the graveyard. Oh, that's. Oh no, but it's a vampire. Okay, so we're getting multiple vampires.
To me, bringing something back from the graveyard infers that you're going to be dealing with their ex.
Yes, it's not me and my partner saw you from across the vibe. It's me and my ex are fighting right now, and we settle it in a weird way.
Or I'm using you to get back at them.
Yes, she can use me however she wants. That's a tap.
Incredible. All right, we're going to move on to Nicol Bolas, Dragon God.
Okay, so in Elden Ring, there's a lot of dragons, and people do be thirsting for dragons. This is another video I've thought about making. Let your bard fuck the dragon. Stop this like, oh, the bard wants to fuck the dragon. Like, one, that's on you as a DM. for not establishing a tone
Also,
that makes
stop making your dragons so fucking sexy.
yeah. And you know what? Here's you want to punish the bard?
They want to
Just
be
make
punished.
just make the dragon like want a relationship, because that's not what like the bard player is thinking. Just have the dragon be like, "Where's this going?" That's how you do it. So there's a lot of dragons in Elden Ring, and like a lot of my chat is pretty thirsty for those dragons. It's never done it for me. The dragon thing's never done it for me. I'm happy for Donkey. Um, Good for him. Uh, I, just to me, I've always been like, that's a lizard, and that does nothing for me. So Nico Bolas, Dragon God, I'm sorry, we're not tapping.
Okay, that's a pass. Our first pass.
Our first
Incredible.
pass.
So we're going to move on to Tamio.
That's a nerd. That's a nerd. That's a tap. The nerds know. Here's the thing about nerds: they don't get to tap that often, but they think about tapping constantly. Okay, this is Tamio, the completed stage. Okay, the Phyrexians got there. Okay, it's fine. She's got a book she's gonna be bringing. Are you like? She's got pages of information here, and she's gonna draw me cards. I don't know what that means sexually, but you always want to draw cards, to the point where even if you were fooling around with Tamio and you have the option to draw a card, I'd be like, well, yes, I'm never gonna say no to drawing a card. That's a
Incredible.
tap for sure.
Hell yeah. All right, we have Muldratha the Gravetide up next.
Okay, this one. This one's interesting. It's slimy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a disqualifier. For scale here, I am also seeing it's bigger than that looks like a tree in the foreground. And the tree's in the foreground, so if anything, that tree is bigger than it will be. I'm going to say it's so weird because I know there's another slime coming up because I can see the preview of it. This slime is a tap, but the next one isn't, and I don't know what the distinction is. Because slime, okay, I have a theory about slime, and that slime is narratively the fusion of sex and terror.
Explain
Um,
further, please.
so, okay, this is another whole video I've wanted to do, is that like,
Give us the little
what,
teaser.
okay, the main issue with movies right now, there is not enough slime. Nothing is slimy anymore. Think about all of the best movies from like 2005 and earlier. Slime is a major factor. The Mummy films, slime, goop, creepiness everywhere. Men in Black, everything is slimy. Everything's getting slimy and sticky. Okay? Ghostbusters, they get slimed. Okay? You need a level of slime in your film, and I think it's because it fuses sexual like ejaculate. Okay. But it's also it's a way of removing the four humors: black bile, red bile, whatever the biles are, like if you're familiar with that old stupid interpretation of human beings in medicine. But it takes the internal, it makes it external,
Mm-hmm.
which is both an act of sexualness and also an act of terror. And I think that is why slime is just like it's primal in our head. It's slimal in our head. From when we're
Ooh.
born to when we ascend to adulthood, slime is on our mind. Kids love slime, just in their brains. They're just like, slime is,
Nickelodeon.
it's so important. I don't know why. There's just something in my head that sees slime and says, yes, that. And I think it's because it's that, like, it's just in our heads of like slime. It's scary, but I want it. It's something I don't want and I do want simultaneously. So Muldrotha is a tap.
Incredible. Okay, well, then we're going to move on to the Mimoplasm. And I'm going to say specifically this version, not the one with like a T Rex coming out of its arm.
Right. So this one is bigger than a mountain.
Hell yeah.
That's gonna be what, you know what? Okay, here's why that's a pass for me. If it's bigger than a mountain, what can I even do for it?
Well, ask not what you can do for it, but what it can do for you.
And that's why it's a pass. I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm the DM. Uh,
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We move on then to Orvar, the all form. And the reason I included this one is because it's a shapeshifter.
it's an automatic tap.
Incredible.
If I'm assuming that if we're both consenting cards here, um, that we can come to an understanding. Now, here is the shapeshifter fooling around paradox. Is the shapeshifter okay shapeshifting for fooling around? Or
Ooh.
do they have like a natural state and they're like, I kind of want someone to love me for my natural state? Or do they kind of like the role play? This is the question. And Orvar, to me, if we look at it, you cast an instant or sorcery spell. If it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. Trying to bring more people into the fun, more tokens into the fun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even your opponents. So to me, that says it's fun to move around, and that's a tap for me.
Hell yeah. Now, the next one I think that Quinn might be a little excited for. It's a Johnny.
So a Johnny for me. Again, I am the token cishet on this podcast. Doesn't quite do it for me. However, I can respect the game. I can respect what he is bringing to the table, and he's bringing it. Quinn left, so I could ask her, but honestly, she doesn't get along well with other cats. She doesn't really get along with other humans. She kind of likes to hide. So I think it'd be a pass from her as well. But let's see what are these abilities? Maybe there's something in there that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'd try it, but I don't think so. Yeah, it's you know what? A Johnny jealous. Look at this. Look at this -4 ability. Each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control and sacrifices the rest. You can't even have other friends with a Johnny. That's a concern for me. That's a pass.
Understandably so. Well, you might not be able to have other friends with a Johnny, but you sure can have other friends with Krenko Mob Boss, who is our final question of will you tap or will you pass?
I'm gonna get really specific with this, okay? Because I am socially anxious, but in groups of like 5 to 15. Like when there is enough people, like at a party. I am anxious at parties because there are enough people that there aren't enough people that you can't be alone. Like you can't be standing by yourself and not talking to anyone. You need to be engaged with someone. And like that stresses me out because I'm like, if I screw up this conversation, then I am weird at the party. And there's also few enough people that I can get around, but then there's enough people that they can be like, hey, that guy's weird. And there's a bunch of. So with Krenko, how I have seen Krenko played, we will be very quickly exceeding 15 people. We will be at 20 people. We will be at 40 people. And here, it doesn't matter that I am cishet because if we are making 30 to 40 goblins, there's some lady goblins in the mix, and we're at full. It's not even an orgy anymore. This is like one of those like attempts to set a world record things. Actually, this is like one of those cult things where it's like the whole cult gets into it. So there would be a place for me there, and I think because of that, I would say tap.
Incredible. I love that. Well, my friend, there are no more planeswalkers or commander creatures to tap or pass, but I really appreciate you sharing your perspective and your insights on them with us. With that being said, I would love to hear from you about some upcoming projects that you have, as well as just the work that you're doing in this space. I'll be sure to include the links in the description for folks to click on. Obviously, the first thing that people need to do, I think, is hang out with me in chat when you stream Elden Ring on Twitch. That's the first thing. But there is
Yes.
so much more than you do than just that.
So I recommend especially showing up for the streams that aren't Elden Ring because I'm a little burnt out on Elden Ring right now and it's making me a little too grumpy.
Let
Um
me put an asterisk by that.
yeah.
You should hang out in chat anytime Phil streams, but you should especially hang out when I'm there too.
Yes. Truly. I mean, we have a good time unless I'm having a very bad time because I play frustration simulators. Um but I this is going to air in April, so hopefully I will have more Commander I Hardly Know out, which is my series where I try to build commanders with 3,200 or fewer decks on EDH Rec, which means that they are significantly less popular. I try to go to the bottom of the barrel, but sometimes everything's at the bottom of the barrel for a reason. I am trying to find good pickles at the bottom of the barrel that were left behind and maybe have extra pickle juice. I don't even like pickles. This is a terrible metaphor for me. So check out Tulok the Barbrarian. That's where the videos will go up of the commander. I hardly know series, which is a very good name that I'm very proud of. I will be working on a Final Fantasy X playthrough over on Tulok Time that I hope will be out by then. I should have a Mass Effect up where I have not used any guns. That's another thing that I'm trying to work on. So, yeah, Jess, you said you don't like using guns in games. Perfect. I'm figuring out how to do it. It's hard. It's bad. Don't do it. Um, I'll be working more on my homebrew series. We're in season 2 of my D&D 5e homebrew series where I do a subclass for every of the major classes and another one for my accelerator subclass. So that should be pretty fun. There will be a new episode at least once a month on Tulok the Barbrarian. And then over on Tulok and Mango, I have a series called Welcome to. Welcome to Limgrave was the first episode of it. It is explaining lore and doing like a lore dump for Elden Ring, but very badly in the style of a Philomena Kunk. So if you like Philomena Kunk stuff and either like Elden Ring or are curious about Elden Ring and want to learn about it all wrong, those are the videos I'm very, very proud of right there.
Hell yeah, my friend. I am excited to check more of your stuff out as you keep Cranko Mob bossing it all out. With that being said, before we move into our final segment, stick around because we have some announcements and some upcoming tabletop charity initiatives for you to be on the lookout for. Well, my friends, that is the end of our episode. But before we go, Phil, I believe that you have the good morning of the day for us.
Of course. Good morning to the DMs who let their players level up last night, and to them only.
You heard it here, folks. I'm just the human, and this is Tulok the Barbrarian, and together we're saying good morning to the DMs who let their players level up last night and to them only.